Hello, welcome to another edition of the Inside View. It's been an amazing day, beautiful weather. Um, the day was so good, and so I don't know where you're watching me from. If you're watching me from Ghana, good evening, good evening Ghana, and good evening UK. It's such a wonderful time, to come your way again with another educative program. And before we start, I would want you to invite as many friends as you can to tune in. And also, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to the Inside View with Nana on YouTube, and also on my page, the Inside View with Nana. I would want you to follow me, and keep blessing you with more insightful and discerning and programs. So invite as many friends as you can, and let's all join in tonight and listen to our wonderful guest. Thank you so much. Many years ago, financial services and banking for the matter was just privy to just the working class people. I quite remember, growing up as a child, my grandmother used to, save her money under her bed. So, saving money in the bank was not known, to a lot of people. Now, there's been a shifting that has changed everything. Now we have big organizations paying their workers, online. There's so many things going on, digitally now. And I just want to be educated on this because it's so surprising because now you can just sit in the comfort of your home, order stuff, do so many of your banking transactions, in the comfort of your home. And especially Ghana, is being ranked, fourth as the most digitally matured data investment country. And I'm so privileged, tonight to have on the Inside View Mr. Michael Nyarko from the Bank of Ghana. Welcome to the Inside View, Mr. Nyarko.
Thank you, Nana. It's a privilege to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. Our viewers are also, so happy to have you back. And we do apologize, for the prayer, technical issues. And we just hope and pray that today everything will just go on smoothly. So, Mr. Nyarko, who are you and what really inspires you? We just want to know what you do in Bank of Ghana and what really inspires you.
Thank you very much. Before I introduce myself, let me recognize and appreciate this opportunity and also congratulate you on your award winning. Some of us prefer to be on the back burner and watch people.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Go to higher heights. So that's one of my inspiration, to see young people excel. And so you find I have a lot of young people I mentor every now and again. Mm-hmm. And I don't know whether there is a certain magnet that attracts them to me. Every now and again, I find myself having to speak at forums to inspire young people and to also see them excel in their various areas of endeavor. Because in our part of the world, we are not happy to see young people engage in negative vices. And so we always want to do our best to help. My name is Michael Nyarko. I'm a servant of the Central Bank of Ghana. I work as a team leader for Ghana's foreign exchange receipts and payments. And so we basically ensure that whatever receipts and payments as a way of inflow from external sources and outflows to external sources are accounted for by the central bank. And so I am in the internal audit department, but then I specialize and concentrate on that aspect of the business of the bank. For onward submission to the Auditor General's attention for audit purposes, and then to the Parliament of Ghana to also review, so that in the end, but before then, I was the risk-based team manager. And then I was also the immediate past network panel chairman of ACCA Ghana.
Oh, wow.
And so I have different portfolios, which I may not be able to enumerate all in church.
We understand.
And all that. But then my pastime, I realized is tennis. In fact, initially I thought all this, I thought I loved football, but then I played tennis. And so when I sit behind the screen and there's tennis and there's football, I find myself gravitating towards tennis. And so maybe I would say my pastime is tennis. And you already apologized, but then let me also add that I was so emotional and very sorry for what happened the other time. We couldn't have taken our viewers for granted. So that's about me. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's okay. Today we are talking about the role of technology in financial inclusion in Ghana. I mean, now the financial sector in Ghana has changed drastically. So, what is financial inclusion and why does that matter, Mr. Nyarko?
So, as a preamble, I need to give some statistics. It's important for us to set the tone with some data. So it wouldn't be like I'm speaking off the cuff and off my head. Currently, Ghana's population is 31 million. We embarked on the housing and population census not quite long ago. And so we are still awaiting the outcome of the numbers. Of this 18 million adults, and the Bank of Ghana estimates that approximately 7.3 million of Ghana's adult population is unbanked. And so that's a huge figure. And about 17 million, that is 57% of the population, live in urban areas. And so if 17 million live in urban areas, and as we have 18 million, 7.3 million unbanked, it tells you that we still have a long way to go. About 13 million, that is 43% of the population, live in the rural areas. As of 2018, there were 32 million registered mobile money accounts across the country. That's a lot. And I'm sure one will be wondering, if the population was 31 million, how can we have 32 million registered? Some people may not be domiciled in the country, but they might have registered on the mobile money platforms. Other people have multiple handsets, so people are hooked onto different locals, and they may register on all of those multiple lines. Hence, this disparity in the numbers. Now, back to your question. Financial inclusion finally simply refers to the availability and equality of opportunities to access financial services. And so it refers to a process by which individuals and businesses can access appropriate, affordable, and timely financial products and services. Appropriate, affordable, and timely financial services. It should be timely, that just as our platforms offers these services, we need a certain support backup system, which is telcos, which is data. How available are data? How available and more affordable is it to the people who are supposed to use it? Exactly.
Okay. So, I mean, having given us, this preamble, what does technology play? And what role does technology play in financial inclusion?
So, given the background I've given, There's a deficiency in the financial inclusion in Ghana, and there's a need for us to move away from traditional means of banking and financial services in Ghana. Fortunately for us, if there's any good thing COVID did for us, it was to enhance our financial inclusion objective and capabilities. Because the Bank of Ghana had envisaged that we would have gone cashless by 2023. But as we speak, because of COVID since 2020, we've had accelerated numbers. And so a lot more people are now hooking onto digital. And so technology, the telcos, MTN recently also announced that they had budgeted to spend $150 million in infrastructure. But then, as a result of COVID and demand for technology, they had to scale it up to $250 million. That tells you the extent of demand for the data and telcos. So technology is playing a huge role in financial inclusion in the country. In that, if my mom stays in any ham or any of my family members is in any corner of this country, they don't necessarily need to move to the next banking hall to go and do business transactions. They can sit in the comfort of their homes, and I'm sure that if you ask any of your family members or siblings around, they will tell you the last time they walked into the banking hall. Because in the comfort of your home, even now, from abroad, you can still send your token to people's mobile money wallets directly without necessarily going through MoneyGram and all of those platforms. So financial inclusion technology has played a huge role, and it has bridged the gap between the poor and the rich by providing easier and affordable, convenient means of accessing financial services.
Mm-hmm. Got my attention. That's why I brought out this interview. Was how it's like now I can just sit in the comfort of my home where I can just send money back whatsoever. You know what I mean? How did this start? You know what I mean? Because I'm thinking the level of education in terms of financial literacy in Ghana is not too. I don't know. I'm not too good. I say this, with a pinch of. It's not easy for me to say, but then I'm thinking, how did you actually start? Because now you have people in the rural, areas. Everybody now with, mobile banking, mobile money, transactions. How did it start? How did this whole thing start?
Yes, so and thank you again. I don't know when you left our shores and how often you've been visiting, but then you all remember there was a period in the 90s when we all had something we call yam phones. And that was the time we had gotten, and everybody was running helter skelter. And make us say, bring me a phone. I mean, post office. And so with all that, we had at the time Space Phone, then it's transitioned to Ariba, Space Phone, Ariba, and MTN, to cut a long story short. And so MTN was the initiator. Okay. And once MTN had everywhere you go slogan, so it tells you that they virtually had access to the entire country. So they decided, okay, why not pilot this? Kenya was undertaking this. So they decided that we are going to do it on a pilot based on M-Pesa, how Kenyans were doing it. Then it's transitioned from there to people beginning to have some confidence. And so once, financial inclusion is all about confidence. Once people are confident that, look, when I keep my money on this phone, even if I lose my phone, I don't lose the value of my money. Then people began to have some confidence. Then the other people also realized, look, this is a huge area we can get into. So now it began. Some of us who were very skeptical about it were treading very cautiously because we were so stuck with our traditional banking system. And we realized that this thing, the people in the markets, those we call illiterates, they were benefiting so much, they had so much confidence, and we didn't have a choice than to get ourselves involved. Because now once it comes to money, when people have to learn around money, it is not difficult. There are times we have sat back as central bank and thought that this product is too high level for this group of people. But what we have learned and appreciated is that once it's about money, people will learn about it. Wow. Of course, there are some tricksters out there who want to take advantage of the system and try and manipulate things here and there. But then after a while, when the central bank started regulating the space, then people had more confidence. Then the introduction of interests, because once people keep their money on your platform, you will have to be able to save and give them some return. Then everybody was like, I don't know whether you send this a bit. Next kind of way, MTN rolled out a certain advert that was my Misaka, and this young guy was asking, next kind of way. So this time it moved from Nasikano way to na interest in a way. So now people are assured that, look, if I keep my money in there, especially once these traditional banks are not close by, some people have to trek. And for those of us who work in the areas of supervision, when you go on the field, then you appreciate what people go through to do simple banking. And so this one came as very convenient. Not a lot of education was done on this. In fact, I can tell you that of all the interventions, the banking products we have rolled out, mobile money transaction education was the least, because the news started spreading like wildfire. People started buying into it by default because of the benefits. And so we getting people to roll on, get involved. Our parents who are anti-tech will say, but you walk it through once, twice, and the person is calm, and that's it. And so it's been the ATM, the debit card, the credit card, everything in our world. And I would say that it's the best thing that has happened to our environment in this 20th century.
Oh, okay. Mr. Nyarko, even though this is so convenient, it's so accessible, for everybody, to have this online banking or like mobile banking. Now, what is the fate of the traditional banking? Because it looks like now everybody is into mobile, money, or like mobile money banking. Don't you think that is also going to create a lot of unemployment? Because now instead of having these physical banking buildings or structures, they would have to scale down, because even here we have closed a lot of banking, you know, um, also premises. You know what I mean? They've scaled down a lot. So I'm thinking in Ghana, where unemployment is already high, and now with the advent of this mobile banking, don't you think there's going to be, this is also going to create a lot of unemployment, even though it's like convenient and
On the contrary, I think it's rather creating a lot of employment in the private sector, because
okay.
with Soundness, all you need is probably a small DEX, a registered account, and over time you scale it up to. And the banks are not sitting back watching; they are also strategizing to take advantage. And so, if you have a bank, your account can be linked to your mobile money wallet, where you can do transactions from the bank. So, for those of us who are very skeptical and still have our doubts, we prefer to use the traditional banking and link it to our mobile money wallet. So, the banks are not losing out entirely. Moreover, there are big ticket transactions that only the banks can undertake.
Mm-hmm.
And so those transactions are still in existence. The banks are taking advantage of both ends. And so you go to a bank, they have a mobile money wallet, a mobile money desk, where new employment opportunities are being created. That is the excitement about it. And then there are other transactions of foreign and local big ticket transactions. Don't forget, we still have companies in the system that do letters of credits. They do all manner of transactions that do not meet you and I's eyes. There's a derivatives market. I don't want to go into that because it's quite technical.
Yeah,
And
a little technical.
and, and so there are so many things the banks undertake that still keeps them afloat and in businesses. In fact, aside the exercise the central bank undertook to close down other banks, you find it interesting to note that the banks are now even recruiting some of their old personnel, because after now that COVID has become a new normal, they require some specialized skills to undertake certain services for them. So
Wow.
when you talk of check system, as for check system,
Mm-hmm.
a study has shown that it has reduced drastically. I don't remember the last time I issued a check. Maybe when I'm going to buy my next car, that's when I will issue a check. But then, until then, my mobile money is linked to my account, and I can
Wow.
do bank to wallet transfers. I can do transactions that are within 10,000 a day. And so you can imagine
Oh.
it goes a long way to serve both the bank and unbanked, the traditional unbanked populations.
Oh, okay. Now my question is, how did our mothers, who are not too financial literate, how were they able to buy into this? Because I'm thinking, many of them would say, "Yes, so say he's wrong what bank." You know what I mean? Like many people, never had actually confidence in the traditional banking, sector, and those who had also thought, they were not actually met in terms of the kind of services that they wanted. So, how were you able to bridge that gap? And also, what is the commitment of the Central Bank of Ghana to financial inclusion?
Okay, so I will do that with an example. I remember when this example is not too pleasant a news, but then it's kind of answer a bit of the question. When we were doing the closing down of the banks, I undertook GN Bank and about 5 branches in up north.
Mm-hmm.
When we got there, they said, "This is the only bank we know. We've saved so much to take care of our children's upkeep and all that. So what's next?" And immediately, all I saw was a mobile money outlet. I said, "Keep your money in the mobile money with the mobile money vendor, and you are safe." And they're like, "Oh, Adiawa had it, and so yeah, share. It takes only about 4 steps for you to effect a transaction on mobile money. That's how easy and convenient it is." And the telcos are even breaking it down
Wow.
because now that they have embarked on registration, after you initiate the process or on your phone, it's so. Let me tell you another example. My mom, let me use my mom. My mom said, "What made you know your mom? Come and take it and do it for me," so to speak. And I said, I'm leaving for work. Then my children will tell her, "Grandma, let's help you." But then she's not catching it faster. And so she needs to do it by herself. And it's money. She's with me here. She needs to pay for her cement far away in Shama, right? All the money is sitting on her account. By the following day, she was effecting transactions because the thing is a self-help. You
Wow.
get to a certain stage, it truncates, you come back and correct yourself, and nothing lost. And so once you go through the process, once, twice, thrice, you are there. So our mothers, with the convenience that it brings,
Mm-hmm.
they don't have a choice but to get hooked on. In fact, you'll be amazed to note that they are even more excited about it than some of us because they couldn't afford to go to the banking hall,
Mm-hmm.
join long queues for MoneyGram. A teller will say, "Mommy, betim ha, I'm feeling mal," with all the attitude that
So,
goes with
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So if she has a certain handset in hand that she can sit back and manipulate by herself, it may tarry, but it will never last. The Bible will say, "Though it may tarry, it will surely come to an end."
It's very
And
content.
so, yes, and so just a day or two,
Hmm.
you walk them through. For those of us who are not patient enough, they will have to go through by themselves again and again and again. And by the next moment, they've got it.
Wow. Wow. I'm glad you mentioned, the attitude bit, and also, the long queues. I think, yeah, we'll get to that point. Um, my question is, before the mobile banking, what was the traditional, banking not doing right? You know, and to make this mobile money come to take over, the whole show, over the whole show, like quote unquote. What were not they not doing right? Because to have your mom, I don't know how old your mom is, but I could tell maybe, she's, an elderly woman. I mean, what couldn't they do right for mobile money, to come for a woman of, let's say 60 plus, to grasp this new concept so easily like that?
I would not say they weren't doing right. Everybody sets up a business for a purpose, and the purpose is to maximize shareholder returns. So once you invest in them, you expect a certain return.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody wanted to be part of the big pie, and all of them were seemingly concentrating on the capital um, towns and cities. And so you didn't find them a lot in the rural areas. And secondly, their charges were a bit of a drawback in that people save their money expecting a return. Some banks even started charging on savings accounts. By the time the month ends, they will charge you service charge. They will charge you ATM services for services you did not even use. And so people found it not too interesting. And so when mobile monies came, it was a savior at the time. And everybody seemed to have embraced it because with mobile money, until you effect a transaction, your money is intact. And even with the transaction, there are thresholds to the charges. Some telcos don't even charge anything now at all, whether it is on their network or other networks. And so you can imagine everybody will want to gravitate towards those whose charges are friendly or non-existent.
Yeah.
The traditional banks are still concentrating on the cities because they have to put up infrastructure, which is expensive. They have to get personnel to man those offices, which are also quite expensive. They need to ensure that they stay afloat. They make their shareholders happy. So they were virtually concentrating in areas where the pie or the share of the cake was bigger. And so to access them was even a problem. But with the mobile banking, with the click of your phone, once you have a phone, and the phone doesn't even have to be a smart phone. You can have any of the old ones, and you will still be in business. And so it's a lot of conditions that are making people choose, or that's
anything.
Exactly. So they did not err, but then this convenience surpasses what the traditional ones offers.
Yeah.
Hello.
Mm-hmm. But before we carry on, I've got is of the name Naomi saving our money in the bank, not as good as the olden days.
Hello.
There's a delay. Thinking.
Yes, there's a delay.
Hello. It says yes. There's a delay. Yes, she goes. Why is saving our money in the bank not as good as the olden days? Why is saving our money in the bank not as good as the olden days?
Saving your money in the bank is as good as in the olden days. In that it's more secured than being at home. You still have some points at the end of the day if it's in savings accounts. The banks will also have some money to be able to turn around the economy. And so as a financial intermediary, you also can use it as a saving for future planning. So it still helps to save your money in the banks other than the olden days. Nothing has changed.
Thank you for answering that question. I think I'll say that, like just like you said, that you were always skeptical about this mobile money stuff. I mean, how do you promote financial, inclusion without risking the safety and also the soundness of the traditional banking? Because I know that we have a lot of people who will still prefer to walk into the traditional banking for their own transactions. So how do you promote financial inclusion without risking the soundness and the safety of the traditional banking?
Yes, that's a good question. The central bank, after our exercise, have come out with a lot of directives and corporate governance rules to ensure that the banks are as sound as can be. As I indicated earlier, the banks are into so many things that does not meet the ordinary eye. And
Okay.
so they undertake government businesses. They still keep you and I, our money. They do a lot of businesses on behalf of companies. With the advent of 1B, 1F, and all the automobile companies that are coming into the system, you can attest to the fact that they will need banks to do a lot of intermediation on their behalf in terms of offshore and onshore. And you
Yeah.
also appreciate that Ghana is now seriously into the oil business, and all of these are undertaken by banks and financial intermediation. And so we needed to tighten regulation around those ends. And as I said, over time, the environment has become very sophisticated. And so they undertake very complex transactions that if you don't take care, they will be going into areas that will be endemical to their growth and survival. And so we ensure that we have a good balance. Indeed, the central bank have set up a department that undertakes the supervision of mobile banking. And so they regulate, they oversee the activities of the telcos to ensure that there is soundness there, and to also ensure that there's trust, there's confidence in whatever they are doing. And most of all, they also ensure that people are getting the right interest that they are supposed to get from their wallets. And then we also have the banking supervision that takes care of the traditional banking. And we also have the other financial institutions department that takes care of the rural and other quasi financial institutions. And so the central bank is still on its feet, ensuring that it creates a level playing field.
Okay.
It is instructive to note that we even went ahead to set up the GIPS, the Ghana Interoperability. They were the ones who facilitated the e-switch, the check code line clearing system, the Ghana Automated Clearing House, the National Switching and Processing System, that is the Chain-Link. And then they also are providing the platform for mobile money interoperability. And that is huge. And that is all being undertaken by the central bank. So it tells you our commitment to ensuring that every part of the system operates on a very sound footing, and also nobody takes advantage of both the customer and the service offerer.
Wow. Someone actually sent me this question, which I would like to read, to you. It goes, what was the payment system in Ghana back then? And how technology has been a driving force behind the current development of payment and settlement systems? And what are the objectives? This is like a question someone sent me. Because we've seen that now we've got big, corporations and big companies paying their workers, online or using this mobile money and stuff like that. So, what was the payment system in, like in Ghana back then, and how, has this technology being a driving force behind the current development and the payment and settlement system? And what are the objectives, please?
Good question. So back then, I was in Sunyani office of the Bank of Ghana, and I remember very well. We used to carry checks. So at the end of the day, we will collect all the checks we have received, carry them in a briefcase, walk to the clearing house. We used to call it clearing house, and then we'll go and exchange checks. So when you get the ones that are for ADB, you give it to them. The ones for Barclays, you give it to them. You do those exchanges, and then you settle. We call it settlement.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we just have to scan the check. You scan to GIPS, you scan to GIPS, and then GIPS with their check code line clearing system platform will do the settlement. And so we've come a very long way from the traditional system of settling transactions into the current. So today, I can sit in the comfort of my office, do a transaction, write a check, and you will have value the following day. Unlike previously, where we would say, oh, the check is in Accra and your account is in Sunyani. So we have to use courier to send it to Sunyani for them to confirm that there is funds on your account, and then they return it. And STC will bring it back. And that alone is a week, a cycle of a week. But today, as a result of interconnectivity and technology, all the banks are linked, and so there's convenience. You sit in your office, you scan, GIPS picks it up, debits ADB, and then gives me credit. ADB also picks it and transfers the debit to the client. And so now it has become more convenient because of this single decision by the central bank to establish GIPS to undertake all of these.
Wow. Can I just put you on the spot? Because, over here we have this central database where, just by your date of birth, everything about you just pops up. And I'm thinking someone in a typical, rural area, where you don't have any much information apart from their mobile number, their name, and that's it. How do you monitor theft? How do you monitor how do I put it? Any theft? How do you monitor such transactions? Like transactions involving.
We are there now. We are there now. Recently, we had the National Identification Authority registering all of us on their portal. As I speak, my tax identification, my SNIT number is all linked to the national identification number. And so with the click of a button, once I have access to the system, I'm able to know where you live, what you do, your age, and basically all the biodata. And so anybody who registered with the National Identification Authority, there's a central database. So we are there now. The only thing we have not been able to do, which I am hoping that in a few years ahead we'll be able to do, is where I get to Sainsbury and touch my phone on the POS and my transaction is done. But we are treading cautiously because sometimes there are a few rascals amongst us who want to take advantage of everything. Our card systems were blacklisted because of these so-called Sakawa boys. Yeah. And so we have a very unique environment. So everything we do, we are a bit careful and in rolling it out. indeed, we have the GHP,
Okay.
the GH QR code that is going to take care of this example I gave you, the Sainsbury's example.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to any shop, you can use your phone to touch, but then you want to hasten slowly just to ensure that all the security aspects have been taken care of.
Yeah.
Of course, it's work in progress, and so we cannot
Yeah.
get every aspect of the security um, taken care of before we roll it out. But
Mm-hmm.
then, as much as possible, we try to ensure we don't leave room for
Gaps. Yeah.
unnecessary interventions. And so we have the National Identification Authority platform. You walk into your bank, you present a check, they will be doing due diligence. Before you realize, they have your passports, they have your DVLA license, they have everything. Unless there's a problem, you will not know. But then they profile you along these lines, and all your biodata is there.
That's amazing. I mean, I'm so happy to hear this. I'm so happy to, because sometimes we've heard a lot of scandals where people make huge transactions, like into their foreign, accounts back home, and then like only to be told, the money is missing, and sometimes it's so hard to trace where this money actually went. So I'm so happy to hear like of this stringent security measures actually put in place. Hoping to clamp down all the criminals in the system. So, I mean, how well,
Let me let
has
me let me
the
make a
Central Bank
small
of Ghana?
let me make a small intervention. Most of the times,
Okay.
people make certain claims that I feel are far fetched. In that, there
Okay.
are times you'll be there, somebody will bring you, oh, I have this transaction. They say we can only access it through the central bank. Let's be wary. There are people out there who are also
Mm-hmm.
involved in all manner of dubious transactions. And so they
Okay.
throw some of these things in the public domain to give us a bad name and hang us, because very often they see the progress we are making and some of them feel threatened. And
Okay.
so let's also be very careful about some of these claims.
Okay.
I'm
Mm.
sure we can move on to the next question.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you agree with me that um, most of the traditional, banking system have not invested, in customer service and education, because we have a lot of, claims that most of the staff or the personnel have got so much attitude, um, you know, and also most of their services are not customer oriented based. Would you agree to that?
Yes and no, because there are some who are showing the way. There are some banks that are exemplary. And indeed, today, the banking population has become so alive that if you don't sit up, you don't educate your staff to improve on customer service, you find yourself wanting, because
Okay.
we've opened the system so vast. We have multiple environments playing in the sector. We have
Mm.
Nigerian banks, we have traditional Ghanaian banks, we have even Barbados, and they have come to invest in our banking system and environment. And so if you don't invest in customer service, you don't train your frontline uh, service delivery, you will lose out, because if I come here today and you know how bad press travels faster, immediately I go and give a negative
Yeah.
review about you. People take it without even cross checking, and they will just go and make your name out there, put it in the map. And
Yeah.
so everybody is trying, but
Mm.
I will not sit here and say all is well. um, there are some places you get to, and you'll be disappointed that you even took the initiative to go there in the first place. And so I think it's yes and no, and they are trying as much as possible, but then there's still room for improvement. It is called continuous improvement. So we will need to work on ourselves, and I'm sure it cuts across all environments. I will not sit there and hold brief
Thank
for
you.
2 years, but then there are times when there are bad days for different people, and so they need to work on it.
Yeah, I know. I know. People. Yeah, I know. Hmm. All right. Thank you so much. Educate us on, the microfinance and how it relates to financial inclusion.
So the microfinance sector came in as a gap, a stopgap between the big banks and the rural and
Mr. Nyarko,
community banks.
um, could you please
Yes.
educate us on microfinance and how it relates to financial inclusion?
Okay, so I got the initial question, so I was trying to respond. The microfinance sector came in as a stopgap between the traditional banks and the unbanked. So they wanted to set up a quasi or a mini
Wow.
sector
So
to
then, I mean, how
ensure
does it
that.
relate to financial inclusion? Because um, um, how does it relate to financial inclusion?
Okay, so with about 17 million of the population in the urban areas, and typically we represent the majority of the unbanked population. The microfinance institutions are categories of financial service products,
Yeah, we are
which
listening, Mr. Nyarko.
hello, are you hearing me?
Mm-hmm. We can hear you clearly.
Okay, so what I was
We can
saying
hear
was
you clearly, Mr.
that
Nyarko.
the microfinance institutions, okay,
We can hear
are
you. I can
categories
hear
of
you.
financial service products which target business
I can hear
and
you, Mr.
small
Nyarko.
businesses that lack access to traditional banking services. So the microfinancing activities play a significant role in enhancing the financial inclusion of the underserved segment by one, enabling inclusive participation in the economy, that's helping in poverty reduction. They also create an atmosphere of responsibility through features like group lending. And they also create opportunity for microcredit and short-term lending. They also help customers with emergency or unplanned expenses like hospitalization, home repairs, education, etc. So whilst
Mm.
transactions costs and other factors may not allow banks and other larger financial
Okay.
institutions to serve these unbanked segments, the microfinance institutions help bring these segments on board, thereby enhancing and increasing financial inclusion.
The microfinance was a bit of a wasn't like properly regular you know I think they were just allowed to operate so freely without a lot of checks and balances. Like that one, because microfinance was everywhere, giving out loans, here and there. And you would agree with me that most of the stemmed from this microfinance. Would you agree with me on that?
I will agree and disagree here again. People were setting up microfinance institutions arbitrarily. Anybody in every corner will say, I'm a microfinance institution.
Yeah.
And the central bank doesn't have an eye everywhere, unfortunately. Indeed, if you read about regulation, everybody will tell you regulation is always behind the practice. And so we were relying on people, we were relying on the beneficiaries to let the central bank know the activities of some microfinance institutions that were not serving the purpose for which they were set up. Unfortunately, we did not get some of these feedback. So the central bank took it upon ourselves to set up another department when we realized that there were a lot of gaps in that sector to regulate them properly. And so if you notice, after the bank exercise, we descended on the microfinance institutions, and now we virtually cut them to size, so to speak. Unfortunately for them, because some of them did not live up to expectations, they took depositors' money and didn't give them the returns they wanted. And with the advent of mobile money, a lot of people now prefer mobile money to dealing with microfinance institutions. And it looks to me as if people can also even lend from mobile money activities. So they are more comfortable over there. That is not to say the microfinance are not there. Some of them are still in operation. They are doing very well, and the regulatory arbitrage that was embarked on, our governor apologized for it. He's on record to have apologized for all the things that went on that did not go well. And so going forward, the central bank has tightened regulation in those areas. So those who have invested in any microfinance, you have to ensure that they are registered with the central bank. If you have registered with any microfinance, if you are doing any business with any microfinance that is not registered with the central bank, then you do it at your own risk. So please take steps to ensure that you check on the background of these microfinance institutions. We have a whole department that is dedicated to that, to ensure that we give you feedback on whatever inquiries you make.
That's amazing. So, how has credit and debit card, gained ownership? How has debit and credit, especially with this financial inclusion, do you think a lot of people now are so confident, to transact using their debit and credit card?
Certainly, debit card and credit cards in the first place was not too popular with us because of certain challenges. You transact business and with it, and it's rejected because our Sakawa people were using it for all manner of things. And so even with the middle class, we were just using it to make online purchases and maybe convenient means of payment at a point of sale. But then you realize the point of sale was not everywhere. It didn't catch up that much. And so the drive towards innovation, convenient banking, and cash-light economies, financial institutions, and developing more sophisticated debit and credit cards did not catch on too well with Ghanaians because of its advent challenge. The ownership is still on. I have a debit card to transact some online services anyway, but it looks to me as if now it's been more sanitized because the intelligence services have also clamped down on a lot of these dubious guys. And so we are able to do a lot more debit and credit card transactions. But I can assure you that mobile money have taken over debit and credit cards entirely. I have always said that mobile money is our debit and credit card system.
Wow. Wow. I mean, you know, I mean, where Ghana now, but who invented this mobile money? I don't know. I just want to know. I'm still intrigued about this mobile money thing. I still can't get my head around it. Um, I don't know how did it come about. Who I don't know. I'm just being a bit
Mobile
but
mobile money. Okay, so I'll say mobile
just
money is not owned by
the
Ghana.
fact that now
Um,
you can do so many transactions. It's not
Mobile
owned by
money is not.
Ghana. Oh, okay.
Yes. It came from Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
We went to study from Kenya, and it looks
Okay.
like now we have
Mm-hmm.
passed them in terms of innovation and what we can use the mobile money platform to do.
Oh.
Kenya, for example, is not able to pay utilities with mobile money. Ghana is able to pay utilities with mobile money. But as I said
Amazing.
earlier, it was MTN that went to understudy because you know MTN has a presence in South Africa, Kenya. So
Yeah.
they piloted in Ghana. Yes. And so it was as a result of their inclusion in the digital space in Ghana that does benefit from this. But the Ghana one has been more enhanced in that we can do
Enhanced.
other more services than the Kenyan experience. I had the opportunity of meeting one of my ACCA people in Rwanda, and they said, "Hey, Ghana, we hear you are now overtaking us from something we invented." And we all laughed, and I said, the fact that you give birth to the child doesn't mean you can take better care of it than someone else even elsewhere. You had a very laudable idea, but now you will have to come see us. So we transfer some of our knowledge to you.
Knowledge.
Indeed. Yes, indeed. I would say the founders were MTN, Ghana, and so we can give them credit. Yes. But then, as others get involved, the banks have had their way of bringing innovation around it. The other telcos have also, as a result of competition, brought a lot of innovation around it. Just as I said, some are not even charging anything at all because they believe once they have your capital, they can invest it, give you some of the interest, and they have a share of it. And so it's a win-win situation for everybody. And I am very happy. As I said earlier, we were expecting this cashless environment to happen by 2023, but it's been brought forward by 2 years already. It's interesting to note that I can stay by myself for a whole week. I will not even spend 50 cedis in cash.
Wow.
Yes, I can do as many transactions as can be but then I will not use 50 cedis in cash. I buy everything virtually with mobile money in the convenience of my desk. As I speak to you here, I can pay for electricity, water, DSTV, cable network, almost everything you can think of. I can order food, delivery service will bring it, and I will pay them via mobile money. And so all I have to do is probably transfer money from my bank to my wallet, and then vice versa, I am on and home and dry.
Wow. So can you pay school fees also with mobile money as well? Can you pay your
Yes,
children's school fees?
yes. We pay school fees, we pay tithes. The churches have been very innovative. We pay tithes.
Wow.
Yes, everything. Think of it. Let the listeners give us examples, and I will tell them what we can do with. It's amazing.
Wow. Wow. Ah, I'm surprised. I'm so surprised. But I mean, with all these amazing stuff that you're talking about, mobile money, what role does the government actually play in financial inclusion? If you can give us some statistics, to support your claim, yeah, I'll be so happy.
Okay, so I tried to look for some statistics to back this claim. So on 18th May 2020, the Minister of Finance launched 3 policy initiatives designed to deepen financial inclusion and accelerate the shift to digital payments. Number 1, the National Financial Inclusion and Development Strategy that is developed in collaboration with the World Bank, and it aims at increasing financial inclusion from previous 58% to 85% by 2023. That was in 2018. In 2021, by June 2021, we have achieved this percentage already. And this was done in collaboration with the World Bank. Then they undertook the Digital Financial Services Policy, developed in partnership with a consultative group to assist the poor to build on existing technological gains to create a resilient, inclusive, and innovative digital ecosystem that contributes to social development, a robust economy, and a thriving private sector. Then they also undertook the Cashlight Roadmap.
Wow.
Designed in collaboration with the United Nations, puts forward concrete steps to build an inclusive digital payment ecosystem. This included better access to financial services, enabling regulation and oversight, and promoting consumer protection. In 2008, the government, through the Bank of Ghana, issued branchless banking regulations that enable banks to leverage digital technologies in the financial inclusion space. The statistics can go on and on and on. The government in recent times has also embarked on several digitization and automated processes geared towards a paperless and cash-light economy. This has seen the introduction of the filing and payment of taxes. Hear this: filing and payment of taxes, import/export duties, online bank transfers through mobile money.
Wow.
So now you go to JRA, you don't have to carry cash. You can pay through online platforms and even mobile money.
Wow. Wow. That's interesting. I'm so educated tonight. I'm so glad that we are nearing this discussion, but we'll not end without asking you this question. What are some of the things that people should consider when choosing the best mobile money service in Ghana? What are some of the things that people should actually consider?
Best is relative. I have always said there's nothing like best because there's continuous improvement, and so I differ when somebody uses the word best. But then if you're choosing any of the service providers, you have to ask yourself, who is the service provider? Is the person registered or licensed? Has the service been accredited? And the mobile money service itself, has it been approved for use? Because we can have fictitious people around who claim or purport to be giving mobile money services. And customers should also pay attention to disclaimers. Usually we don't like reading the fine prints and cautions issued by the Bank of Ghana and other regulatory institutions. And you can find all the approved and accredited mobile money service providers.
Sometimes they're too.
Come again?
No. I said, some of the, the declarations, they are so tiny for people to read. You know what I mean? So if you can actually make it a bit more bold and also more clear, some of the things, it's like they are so tiny that you don't even take time to read. You just sign, but then it only comes back to bite you when you get into trouble. Then these things can be a bit more bold for customers to read and understand properly.
So fortunately, we have all of it on our website, all of these details on our website. I'm sending you the website address so you can forward to viewers who are interested to inquire, to go onto our website, the Bank of Ghana website, to check out all these details. So I've sent you the website address, and I'm sure you can give it to our viewers.
I will. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much. And I'd like to give you my own recommendations as well from from where I am. It would be nice for me also to give back, to society, and also, I have a few recommendations that working from the, Bank of Ghana, maybe you might take that also into consideration. So I have one. It's, I just want to put across that to ensure financial inclusion, the Bank of Ghana has to prioritize financial literacy in the rural areas. Even though, the mobile money everybody has come on board, I still feel there needs to be a lot of more financial literacy in the rural areas, and also realize that there's lack of efficient internet facilities, especially in the rural areas, and if that can also be looked into, and also lack of central database system, which you've already told me that now we can link your DVLA, your passport, so that one is ticked, and also lack of proper street address system and identification system. I think it's something that it should also be looked at, so that it will be easier to Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay.
I was just taking note of the points you were raising. The prioritization of the education is well noted.
So that's
the lack of efficient technology. I told you that.
I'm talking about the rural areas, because most of these things are happening in the urban, but most in the rural areas, you can actually testify that there's still more to be done in the rural areas, and also our lack of proper street address system, makes it hard to identify criminals in our society. So if that can also be looked into, and also I've also come across that there's inadequate proper education in respect to our traditional banks, because it looks like everybody has jumped onto this mobile banking. But I mean, that's me. I would love to have this traditional banking system being, like being able to still educate people on the need to have, your money being stayed still in the traditional banks. So that's my little recommendation. Yeah.
Thank
That's
you
from
for
the
the
inside.
recommendation.
Yeah, from the
Yes,
inside view. Yeah.
thank you for the recommendation. But then the lack of technology is being addressed vigorously because MTN and Vodafone have taken the lead in ensuring that almost all our villages are now networked.
Network.
The government has also embarked on street address system. In fact, we now have the Ghana Post system.
Wow.
Yes, that will bring you directly to my house once I send it to you wherever you are. It just like works like the Google GPS system. So we have this digital address system that works. And once you are on it, it works. And so the prioritization of the education, that one I agree. We will have to do a lot more education.
A lot more.
Yes.
And also to have tailor-made financial services, where I can just come to the bank, depending on what I want, my need will be met based on the type of financials, and service that I want. So I think the traditional banks should also, look into having customer-oriented services more than just, this general, nice services, but then customer or like tailor-made services for each customer that actually enters into their banking hall, and also have proper training for their staff with less attitude, and treat each customer that comes into their banking hall, irrespective of their background, whether they are rich or poor, whether they are educated or not educated. They'll have the patience enough to treat each customer that enters into their building as a normal human being, and for that matter, a normal Ghanaian citizen that deserves to be looked after just like anybody else. So that's my recommendation. Yeah.
Noted. Your recommendations are well taken notice of.
Yeah. So on that, yes. Yeah. I mean, on that note, I'd like to say thank you so much for coming back to educate us, knowing how busy you are, and you still, you've stayed committed, to your word to come back and educate us, on the role that technology is actually playing, on financial inclusion in Ghana. And I'm so glad to have you, on the inside view. So thank you so much, Mr. Nyarko. Thank you also for, taking my recommendations on board as well. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you too, and always a pleasure to be here. This is my peak period for reporting to the parliament, but then I tried to ensure that I make time for the lost period the previous time. And so thank you very much for having me. And in regards to everybody.
It's so much, yes. Yes, my regards to the family as well. So look after yourself and have a blessed week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, and same to you. Bye-bye.